guys, welcome to another video. So this video is going to be full VHLS, which is one of the main subsets of ZBLS, and it's basically just the inserts that are the standard ones that every F2O pair reduces into. So for example, there's this one which you can just insert like this or like that, and then there's this one which is also a 3-mover. So these two 3-movers are what every single F2O pair reduces into. So technically you can do ZBLS knowing only these ALGS, which is only about, I think, 32? No. Let me see.
Approximately 10 hours later.
Yeah, it's around 32. And yeah, so I'm going to show you all of the ALGS today, and this is part of my ZBLS series, and I realized that my other one that I was starting before was a little bit less efficient, and I think it's more efficient to do them in subsets like this. So, or like, not subsets, entire sets. So, yeah. So, to begin, we're starting with the basic case. Just let me get my computer on. Yeah, so we're starting with this case. So this is the standard case. All of the edges are oriented except for, well, yeah, all of them are oriented. So you just insert it normally, or you can insert it like that. Doesn't matter. And then this is the case where this edge is misoriented and this edge is misoriented. So the only edge you see up in the top face is this one. So that's how you recognize it. And the pair is here, obviously. And so to do this one, you just do U, R, U, R prime, U prime, or not U prime, U2, and then sledge. So yeah, it's pretty nice. So it's pretty easy to remember as well. So if you remember, like, well, yeah, like that. So anyway, so just remember that you're kind of replacing this edge with this edge, and then you're putting this edge back down here, so it creates this block here, and then you're sledging in to correct the remaining edges. And then for the next case, it's a pretty easy one that I think most of you will recognize. It's just a sledge. So if you have this edge block in the top left, and you're inserting this pair right here, you just do a sledge, and it's easy. You already know it probably too. And let me just set up the other one. It's like, no, that's not it. Wait, it's kind of hard for me to see, so sorry about that. I understand that one. Okay, so this one is a pretty easy one too. So to do this, you just basically insert the same, except you do an S prime, you do U, and then you do an S prime, and then you just insert normally, and then S. So yeah, that's pretty easy once you get used to the S move. Sorry, I can't speak today. But yeah. Yeah, this is in a lot of ZBLS algorithms. And then for the next one, okay, so this case is pretty similar to the other one, the sledge one. So it is a pair of two edges, but this time it's in the front, not the back. So to execute this, you do U2, and then you do a sledge, and then you insert using RU2 R prime. Or you can technically insert the other way. Because if you do this and then you do that, it might be better in some cases. It just depends on, like, if you get a ZB or an OL skip, or if you go into a better ZBLL. It just depends, and sometimes you can recognize that by the blocks. And let's see. For this one, it's pretty similar to the other one where the edge was there instead, but here it's to the left, so this time it's the same principle. You just replace this with this one, and then you put it back here. Just like with the other one, it gives the same result, and then you do the sledge. So yeah, that's pretty easy. I don't know this pi. Oh my. I should know that. Okay, so, and then this is probably one of my unfavorite VHLSs to execute. I think sometimes when I get this one, I just, I don't do it because it's kind of hard to execute. At least the alg I use, so, you know, I might actually give you guys a different alg for this one, but basically it's just a line. It's a vertical line, and it's the only one with a line in this F2L pair. And you basically just, well, one way of doing it, the way I've done it for some reason, is R prime, U prime, F, and then sort of like an inverse sexy thing, like U, R, U prime, and then F prime. But I've found that that's kind of hard to execute and finger trick, right? So let me look at the other algorithms. You can also do a U and then F prime, and then you can insert this here using L prime, U prime, L, F. And that's good if you're good at like left-handed things. And then of course there's an algorithm with beat moves, which I can also show you. So with this one, you do U2 and then you do RU2, and then you do B, U, B prime, and then U, R prime, or U prime, R prime, sorry. And then the next one, it's pretty simple, depending on which algorithm you use. So it's just basically no edges oriented, like you can see nothing here. It just looks like a dot case, and when you do it, you will get a dot case if you don't sledge or something. So one easy way to remember this one is you can just do U2 and then sledge, and then U2 sledge. But you also have some other options if you don't want to do it that way. So one of them is to do a rotation, and then to do R prime F, RU2, and then inserting this using M prime, U prime M. And that's kind of nice too, especially if you get it from that angle. Another way of doing it is if you do an M prime and then you do U, R, U prime, R wide, R wide 2, U2, and then R, U, R prime, U, and R wide. And that might be better for most people. But if you have trouble remembering algorithms, just do this one because it's easier to remember. Okay, so moving on to the next set. this is the one where the F12 pair is facing this way. So it's the same, it's a free pair, but it's facing this way. So starting off with this one where all the edges are oriented, you just basically insert it normally. So you have to do a rotation unless you want to do F moves, so you can insert it like this with F moves, like U prime, F prime, U, F, or you can rotate to the right, and then you can insert it using U prime, L prime, U, L, and that's pretty easy too. And then for this case, the way I like to think about these cases is when you put it here, this one is at the back, so that means that you don't want to do anything to the back. So you want to keep that edge at the back, so there's only one edge there, so, and then you do an R prime, D prime, and then you insert this pair, and that doesn't mess up the back edge, and it also inserts these edges, and then you do a D and an R. So yeah, that's pretty good algorithm, and it can be executed pretty fast too. Now, of course, this is just basically the same case as the other one, like this, and with the other F12 pair, and you just do a sledge, or a hedge. I forget which one is which, but you do F, R prime, F prime, R, and yeah, and it's only if this two-edge block is here in the top left. So yeah, do that, and then let me just set up these ones. Okay, so for this one, it's the same principle as the other one where the edge was instead here in the back, but since it's this time in the front here, like, or on the right, then you want to put that edge in the back just like last time, and then you want to do an R prime, T prime, and then you insert it the pair the same way using R, U prime, R wide, U, R wide prime, and then D, and then R. So yeah, that's pretty easy to do. And then for this one, this is pretty simple as well. So if you see this two-edge pattern facing you, or facing the same way that this pair is going, then you want to do a U prime, and then you do some R wide moves. So you do R wide, U prime, R wide prime, yeah, and then you do U, you do U, and then you do R wide, U, R wide prime, and yeah, that's pretty easy. Okay, so I'm actually setting this up wrong. Okay, so for the next two, what I want to point out is this one, even I struggle with remembering, because it's kind of hard to remember, because there's no subtle things to remember it by, but it is pretty intuitive. So if you have this edge pointing to the back when the pair is here, then you just want to keep it in the back the same way as the other ones, but you want to start using RU2, R, and then you do a D, and then you do R wide prime, U prime, R wide, and then you do D prime, and then you do R2. So yeah, so just want to separate this pair momentarily, and then do D, and then you do the insert there, and then you do D prime R2. And then for this one, this is pretty easy to remember as long as you use the same ALG as me, which I know is not very like move efficient. But it's basically just you do U2, and you do sexy, and then you insert like this with R prime. It's like a hedge, so you do R prime F, R prime, and then you insert normally. So yeah. And that one is also a line, so it's the only one of the line, obviously, in the subset, so that's how you recognize it. And then okay, so this one is just no edges oriented, except for this one, but you don't have to worry about that. Just in the top layer, there's no edges oriented, and the pair is facing this way. So you just do U prime to put this pair into the back and preserve it, and then you do an R, U prime, R2, D prime, and then you do an RY, U, RY prime, and then D, R. So it's pretty similar to the other ones, like this one, but that initial move to set it up is the difference, basically. So this move, where you go with that, because you're setting it up to this. So you're basically putting this edge here, using R, U prime, R prime, and then you're canceling into this. So yeah, that's how you remember it. Anyway, and then moving on to F2L3. So I'm just gonna kind of try to set up things here. Okay, so for the first two ones, obviously we have this pair. That's what F2L3 is. It's just the 3-move insert there. So and this one has all edges oriented, so it doesn't really matter which way you rotate, or you can just do it with F moves. So you can do F prime, U prime, F, or you can rotate this way and do R prime, U prime, R, or you can rotate this way and do L prime, Q prime, L, and it all depends on like where your hands are in that moment and what you can do without regripping, basically, or like what's more comfortable for you. But yeah, it's pretty easy to remember. And then this one is also pretty easy because just remember these edges are kind of huddled around this corner, and this edge is misoriented, so you want to connect this edge with this corner without messing up this. So you hide this there using an S, and then you insert this just standard using U, R, U prime, R prime, S prime, yeah. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so for these two, they're also pretty simple. So for this one, you want to insert, you want to insert these, you want to connect them with each other and insert them in a way that doesn't mess up this edge and forms EO with these edges. So the best way to do that is by doing an S prime move. So you can rotate either this way or this way. I prefer to rotate this way because I'm better with ready moves, and you do S prime, and then you just insert this normally, like R prime, and then U prime R, and then you do S, and that finishes it off nicely. And then for this one is kind of hard to remember, but just remember that you're trying to join these two together, and you're kind of trying to hide this edge as well. So you're doing you do a U, and then you do an R2, and then RY prime, and then U prime R, and then, wait, maybe I did it wrong. Let me see. R2D, and then R wide prime, V prime, R wide, and then D, R2. Yeah. So it's a pretty simple way of doing it. And then moving on. So when you have this big edge block up here in the upper right, then you want to connect these together using F prime. And then you can see that that made these edges almost oriented. So then when you do an R wide, U prime, R wide prime, and then do an F2, it's in a normal insert. So yeah, so you just remember that you're not affecting these edges at all, so you're just doing that. It's pretty simple to remember. And then the next one is, of course, this. So this just has one edge oriented and it's facing you. So the way to do this is you want to put this in the back, just like with every other edge like that. It's pretty intuitive. And then you do an R prime, D prime. And then you do R wide, U prime, R wide prime, D. And then you insert this with an R2, U prime, R prime. It's pretty simple. It's just basically doing a commutator and then doing R wide moves and then kind of inserting it normally. So yeah. Okay, so for this one, it's a line case, so it's just a line, and that's the only case like that. Of course, it's like that with basically all the ZBLS cases that I've told you about so far. So basically the way you do it is you do a U prime and then you do R prime to pair these up, and then you do an F, and then you kind of do an RU prime to insert this here, and then you do an R2 F prime R to preserve this. That's pretty simple and it can be done pretty fast too. So yeah, when you see a line like this and you have this pair, you just do like that, and it's pretty simple. Okay, so this is the last one, of course, and it's the one where you have no edges oriented in the top layer. So for this one, you just do an R prime F, and then you do R2, and then you do a U prime, and then you do an M prime, and then you do a U2 to preserve this pair, and then bring this block down here using an R wide prime. So, and then you do a U prime and then an F prime. So yeah, that's a little bit complex, but I'm sure with enough practice you'll get it. So you just do that. It's just kind of one that you just have to practice. So okay, for these two first ones, they're very easy. They're probably some of the easiest ZBLSs with this F2L pair. So of course this is the same as the other one, except it's inverted, it's facing the other way. So this one you just insert using R, U prime, R prime, and that's pretty simple. And then for this one, you do the same, except you want to hide this edge, so you do an S prime, and then you do the same insert, and then you do an S. So yeah, that's pretty standard. And then for this one, you may recognize it as being, as basically being this one except the inverse. So this one, of course, you insert using inverse sexy after an S move. And this one, you could do the same. You could rotate and do it lefty. But the way I like to do this one, at least, is by sort of doing an RU2, R prime, and then that sets it up into this sledge. So you do a U prime and then you just do a sledge. So again, you just do RU2 and then the sledge. So, moving on to the next case. There is an efficient way to do it with VMOS, which is like RU2, BU prime, B prime, and then R prime, but the way I like to do this one is to just do U, F prime, and then sort of insert this while preserving this pair. So do U, RU, R2 prime, or not R2 prime, R2, and then you do F prime and then R. And of course, for the next one, you want to do, well, first you recognize it with this being, this is the only one with the, well actually no it's not, but it's the only one with the 2-edge block without a corner here in the middle of it. It's just kind of a 2-edge block. And the way I think is the best to do this one is by doing a U prime and then doing an F prime, U2, F, and then inserting this normally using inverse sexy, so U, R, U prime, R prime. So yeah, you just kind of put this block in the front, and then you do an F prime to replace this with this, and then put it back here using a U2, F, and then you just insert it normally. And that also pairs up the pair. Yeah, so for this case, what you want to do from here is to sort of, well, you can do it one of two ways. So you can either pair it up like with R, U prime, R prime, and then do an F prime. I mean, not F prime, F2. And then do an R wide, U, R wide prime, and then F. Or you can just kind of do an RU2, or not U2, U prime, and then you can do an R2, and then cancel into sledge, and then you can insert using RU2, R prime, or U prime, R, U prime, R prime, if that's better for you. And yeah, for this one, wait, that's not the right one. Yeah, so So for this one, it's pretty simple to recognize. It's the only one with the line here. And then you do, the way I like to do it, and the way I think is the best algorithm personally, is to do it, pair it up using R, U prime, R prime, and then U2, and then sledge. But it's up to personal preference. That's just the one I like, and that's the one I'm going to show you. So, yeah. So the next one is probably one of my favorite dot case ZBLS algorithms. So the way you do it is you just do, there's no edges oriented obviously, and you do an R prime, D prime, and then it's sort of like a common commutator, so you do RY prime, U, RY prime, and then you do D to put this in place, and then you cancel into inserting this here, R2, U, R prime. Yeah, and that's basically full VHLS. Thank you for watching, and if you like this type of video, then tell me so in the comments, and I'll make sure to make some other ZBLS videos, however long it takes me, and I think I'm going to do them in big chunks like this. I might make smaller videos if that's what you guys want, but I think this is more efficient, and I like this format better. So, yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.